Alright guys, sorry I am not with you to do this. We're going to get tested. So, uh, if you've already gotten this far on the animal, just kind of on the animal video, Kingdom Animalia, you could just zip forward. But the classes that I have left that we didn't finish yesterday, this is as far as one of them got. So I'm going to pick up from here. So all animals are heterotrophs. Hetero means other or different. Troph has the same root word as the word trough, which we've talked about if you're familiar with farm animals, they eat out of troughs. So trough means to eat or consume. Hetero means different. So Kingdom Animalia is the only kingdom that eats, which is kind of wild. No pun intended. But all other kingdoms absorb from their environment or they make their own food, like in photosynthesis. We are the only kingdom that must put our energy inside of us. We are the only kingdom that eats. So there's your cheetah eating probably a baby antelope, impala, I don't know, something. So the three classifications of eaters. I know that you know these words because when I was teaching them yesterday in some of my classes, Jenny perked up and said, I know these words. We learned these last year. But you're going to expand what you know about these classifications of eaters. Carnivores, you learned are meat eaters, but why an organism, an animal, is considered a carnivore has more to do with its choice. It has less to do with its choice and more to do with its adaptations and the structure of its body. So I picked a wolverine because they're super fierce and we love Marvel in my house. But wolverines are absolutely, no doubt, carnivorous because, pardon me, structurally they are built to eat meat. Teeth, jaws, claws, digestive system to match that diet. And you might think to yourself, well, I eat a lot of meat. I'm a carnivore. You are not made to eat the kind of meat that little critter does. They're eating, carnivores are eating raw meat. They're eating raw meat quickly. And if you've ever tried to cut through a chicken breast or cut through a steak when it's raw, it takes a lot of power and a lot of force to tear or cut or pierce raw meat. A lot. So their jaws and their teeth are made to grab, hold, rip, tear, and then eat quickly and swallow whole huge pieces of raw meat and tendons and ligaments and parts of bone. Their digestive systems are amazing because of what they have to eat. There's not any cooking to break down the proteins. There's no tender meat in these guys' diets. It is rough, it is raw, and they are built to eat that. So that's what makes a carnivore. Not just it eats meat, but there's a lot in that sentence that you can unpack with your big 7th grade brain. Then after carnivores, you probably learned about herbivores. Maybe you recognize those teeth. Those are teeth of an elephant. Actually, I think those are mammoth teeth. I think they are mammoth teeth. Whatever, pachyderm teeth. But I like to use those teeth as examples because those teeth represent grinding, crushing, grain-destroying teeth. And elephants, you may think, oh, elephants just eat grass or leaves. Man, they can eat a whole tree. They can eat the trunk. They can eat the heartwood. They can eat the bark. And they can eat whole sticks. And they will. Because their big, massive, plant-crushing teeth can do that. And it helps their digestive system in herbivores to break down cellulose. If that word seems familiar, cellulose, it's because that's what plant cell walls are made out of, and it's super tough. It's a very, very tough fiber. Our digestive systems cannot break down cellulose. You can get a lot of other vitamins and minerals and good stuff out of a plant-based diet, but the cellulose will go right through you, baby. Oh, you may have heard people say, oh, I need more fiber in my diet. They're talking about getting cellulose in their diet so it cleans them out. And we'll just leave it there because that's kind of gross. But herbivores are plant eaters because they are physically made to eat plants. Now, personally, me, your teacher, I am a vegetarian. That is a choice. I don't have different teeth than you, and I don't have chambered stomachs like a cow might, and I can't eat grass like a deer. Like, I mean, I guess I could eat grass, but it wouldn't do very much for me. There'd be a lot of cellulose, and I don't want that. But so vegetarians, that's a lifestyle choice. That is not a physical trait of an organism. So don't confuse vegetarians with herbivores, because your science teacher will correct you. And then last but not least, what we are, omnivores. And a very good clue if an organism is an omnivore or not is by looking at their teeth. Omnivores eat plants and animals, so they need different types of teeth. So each kind of tooth in your mouth has a job. The teeth in the front of your mouth are for cutting, holding, tearing, and piercing meat and plants. Then the teeth in the back of your mouth, your molars, are more for grinding and chewing and breaking up the fibers and the proteins in the meat and the plants that you eat. Now, I know it on there. It says humans have 32 teeth. 32 teeth. I am not going to ask you how many teeth. Oh, pardon me. Clearly I'm doing this late on Tuesday night. I'm not going to ask you how many teeth are in a human's head, so you can just skip writing that down, because I don't care if you know that or not. I mean, it's a great fact to know if you're on Jeopardy, but I'm not going to put it on a test. All right. Now, animals. Kingdom Animalia. Boy, you can tell it's late. Kingdom Animalia. They can reproduce. Animals can reproduce sexually and asexually. Now, that doesn't mean the organisms in front of you can do both of those things. These are cardinals. These are birds. Birds reproduce sexually. There's two sexes. There's a male and a female. Now, don't get that confused with gender. Gender is completely different than what we're talking about. This is a biological term. So there's a male and a female. Maybe you know which is which. You kind of think, oh, God. Boy, I needed coffee before I started this. Anyway, so do you know which is which? Is this guy the male? Or is this guy the male? The one that's red is the male. And the more muted is the female. Now, I'm a bird nerd, so I'll tell you this. But these are songbirds. And songbirds build nests. And you might think, oh, birds build nests. A lot of them do, but songbirds definitely do. And so when songbirds build nests, they build nests because they want to, or the females need to sit on their eggs. And they need to protect their eggs. The female needs to be camouflaged. So she has more muted colors than the male, whose flashy colors say, hey, ladies, look at my diet. Look how healthy I am. Wouldn't I be a great partner? Anyway, that's why they're red. And then this thing over here is called a planarian. If you want to think about how small they are, I would suggest thinking about a period in a book, like at the end of a sentence, in your mind. And then make that period about half as big. And that's about as big as a planarian is. It's a flatworm. They live in fresh water. I know it looks like they're cross-eyed, but those are just their eye spots. So you can see them, pardon me, with the naked eye, but they are really hard to see out in the wild. Most of the time you ever see them is going to be in a lab. But they can reproduce asexually. They can just split off and make a new planarian. Or if you cut it in half, like in lab in high school, you might do this. You take a little scalpel and go, whoop, and you cut it, and in about 90 minutes or so by the end of class, you'll see the beginnings of another planarian. But they can reproduce asexually. That means without sex. A means without. All animals are, pardon me, are multicellular. I tried to go really big and really small. This guy over here is an animal. It is a very tiny animal. It's called a Daphnia. Another name is a water flea. But if you see in here, you see organ systems. Which, if you got organ systems, that means this little guy has tissue, and this little guy is made of cells. All living things are made of cells, including a tiny water flea. If you want to know how big this thing is, they're about 1 millimeter long. So you can see a millimeter on a ruler, but that's the full length of their body. And inside of their body, their 1 millimeter long body, which is mostly transparent, so it's very hard to see in the wild, There are organ systems. So they are tiny, 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 tiny little critters, but they are animals. And then you have this guy over here, an African elephant, the largest land mammal. And so clearly much, 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 much bigger. But the two of these guys have a lot of things in common. They are both made of cells. They both have very complicated tissues, organs, and organ systems. They both move. They both eat. And so these guys are both animals. Okay. And I think the last, and I want you to write down some examples of animals in your notebook. I know you know some animals, so just give me like 3 or 4. The one I chose to put in the picture, that is a magpie. I like magpies. That's why I put it in there, because I'm a bird nerd. I haven't told you. So, and then because I'm nice and I love you, this is my version of your notes page. My version of your notes page. So you can hit pause here, make sure what I've got is what you've got. And I've got some things on here that you may not have gotten down. So just double check what you've got against what I've got. And I'll quit saying got, and we'll be done. All right, plants are next.